And Kim, the past president of FIRO.
And current.
Oh, and current Green Book chair. So today we'll be presenting to you, explaining why we think FIRO is deserving of the excellence
level.
Words are hard. Within the citizenship pillar of the
So we, as of a year ago, we decided that we wanted to change what philanthropies we had. So we decided on having a national philanthropy that also ties to our nationals, and having a local philanthropy that supports the Cleveland community. So our national philanthropy is the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and to support them we do Cocoa for Cancer, or Cocoa and Cookies for Cancer, where we have tables in Nord with, those things, and sort of a donation bucket. So it's not buy your cocoa, but it's like a donate for cocoa sort of thing, so that it's sort of more available to the average person. And we found it actually raises a lot more money than straight up selling something.
On the local level, last year we adopted Eliza Jennings as our philanthropy. Last year, I joined in the fall, but last year they went on a Saturday of service to Eliza Jennings, and they volunteered and helped Eliza Jennings is a retirement home and a nursing home. So they went and helped the residents and facilitated some activities for the residents at the home. And the chapter was inspired by that and decided to adopt Eliza Jennings as our philanthropy. So last fall we had a bingo event and we raised money for Eliza Jennings. And last week I just sent the check, and I got a really sweet email back from them, and they were like, this is going straight to the residents, we're going to have some fun activities for them, and just liven up the house for them. So.
Yeah, because to us, I was among the group that we first went there on the Saturday service, and we're like, we really enjoy this, we want to make sure we come back and help, because this is actually something we felt we could actually be helpful in, especially since we were a smaller chapter. So it's something that we we went there, we felt like we were making a physical impact. They were very happy to see us there. They were happy that we could give anything that we could, and we liked going there because it was a relaxing environment and kind of de-stressing from the day-to-day life of being a college student. So it was something that like a group of us really pushed for, and we got the rest of the chapter on board. It's been going pretty well, and I think at some point this semester we're going to be able to go back there and at least do some service with them. We weren't able to keep them as our adopted service site because we just don't have enough manpower to frequently go places, but it's something that we've really stayed in constant contact because it's something that we feel very passionate about, that we want to make sure that we're giving back to the older generations that kind of paved the way for us.
So service in our chapter is more of an individual thing. Everybody has their own projects that they're interested in and that they're comfortable doing. So some people would rather do something where they don't have to go far from campus. So last semester, one of our service events was making hats for heads, which is donating hats to people affected by cancer so that they can have a head covering when their hair is gone. So in the house, we have a lot of hat looms, and people were just comfortable making hats and donating them to the organization. And then another favorite activity is going to the food bank and working in their facilities to sort food, donated food. We went 2 weeks ago, or last week. We went last week, 8 of us, and we had fun meeting other people in the Cleveland community who came to the food bank to help out. And it was a snowy day, so the people there who actually showed up were the dedicated ones who were super excited about the food bank. So it was fun to meet people in the community that way.
And on sort of a local level in community involvement, through CASE, we have, in our sorority itself, our 24 now members, we have 3 Cecil Scholars, and 4 Cecil Scholars, and someone who's in Lambda AWU as well. So we're very involved within CASE.
And not to mention the other organizations at CASE that aren't necessarily service related, but we try to frequently do things with Wiser and SWE since they have similar mission statements to us. We obviously try to be as involved in the Greek community here as possible with the small numbers, but we like to stay involved and try to be in as many different organizations as possible because we have a lot of overachievers in our group that don't know how to stop being involved in things.
And also it's interesting that a lot of people are in different organizations and we invite each other to our events, and Ariel's in APO, and she's trying to recruit people for APO so we can do service together in that capacity. So it's a okay laptop. So it's interesting to see the mix of organizations. Last semester, we hosted a service mixer in our house with Sigma Psi, and we did a similar hats for heads, and we also, well, not hats for heads, but we made woven hats, and we also made cards, and we shipped them to women soldiers overseas. So it was a fun way to combine both service and meeting other people in the Greek community.
This was the second semester in a row that we had an activity as a service mixer with another organization, and it went extraordinarily well. And we purposely picked a woman in the military whose platoon was mostly men, so we could sort of connect with that because a lot of our fields are predominantly dominated by men. So we sort of sent a card explaining why we chose her to send this to.
So then in general, kind of also wrapping up like what we've been doing with community service, especially over the past year, like as of 2 years ago, as a sorority, we didn't do a lot of service hours very well at all. We were kind of disorganized, and we were like, oh, well, we have other things to do. So, but like last year, we like, especially with the help of Ariel, last year with our service and philanthropy, we really made a push to actually make sure we were getting everything done and put in place measures to make sure that, okay, if you're not doing these, there's actually like repercussions if you don't do them now. So it's really helped us get back on track with making sure we're doing our service hours, and also making sure that everyone feels comfortable. Like if you don't like working with people, we can find a service project that like you can do instead to still get your service hours done, but not like scare little children.
So part of that push forward was making some bylaw changes as well. So one thing we added is that there's a requirement of the service chair to make a halfway through the semester service event for those people who have not completed half their hours. And then the same thing for the end of the semester as well. So the halfway service event is typically a little bit lower key, and the end of semester service event, people tend to really want to go to that. So even when, even if people have completed their hours, people are like, oh, can you move it this time because I have something until then. I really just need to attend this. I want to go. So much fun. So it's really cool for me to see that shift from the, oh, I have to do service, which was a year and a half ago when I started as service chair. That's sort of the reaction I was getting, to, oh my gosh, can you find me something that, you know, fulfills this need because I really want to do this. People, like, I know people came up to Aquila this semester and went, so can you schedule a food bake trip, like, tomorrow? So people have been really excited, and it's not just the service chair, you know, reaching out to sisters. It's now sisters also reaching out to the service chair.
Yeah, so it's been really nice to see the whole chapter kind of getting on board and like realizing, okay, here's what we were doing in the past. Here's what we like want to be at. So like, how do we get to that point? Like, I think we're on a very good track to making sure that we continue to do this in the future.
Because of the push for service, actually, we finished like the Greek life required hours last semester. So this semester, I had to like give people like required hours, but we finished our hours last semester.
We finished them over the summer.
But so now people are like doing projects through like Science Olympiad, or they're doing projects through ACTS, or they're doing the Great Lakes Science Center. So they're still volunteering, but they don't feel forced to do it, and I think they're having more fun with it this semester.
So kind of also something that we've made like a pretty decent, like a big push for the past year, especially with like kind of initiatives from House to Home, how they want us, like if we want to apply for it, we want to make sure that we're putting it in place, the different sustainability options for our house. So we've actually put in a lot of different like kind of mini programming for our house. We've switched to all green, completely biodegradable cleaning products. We use reusable rags. We save our grocery bags so we can use them in trash cans and not throw them away. Pretty much just making an effort to making sure that we're recycling everything we can. We put the recycling bins in a much more prominent spot in the house so that you have to walk by them to get to the trash can. So it's like, oh, I could recycle this instead of putting it in the trash can. It's just right next to it.
One thing we've started doing with our plastic bags is APO has a program during which they take plastic bags and they weave them into mats for homeless. So we've donated our plastic bags to that, and we just donated like a couple hundred plastic bags to that, which is great because it'll make about like a quarter of a mat for someone. It's a really cool project.
So it's something that we've come a long way with, and we're very proud of our house in general. We want it to be as eco-friendly as possible, even though it's 100 years old. Trees like to give it violent hugs sometimes. But it's something that, like, especially in the future, we'd like to see even more sustainable options being, like, used in our house, especially we have very drafty windows because it's very old. So at some point, every year we keep going, we want new windows, at least in this room, so that we can hopefully cut down on energy costs, also making our heating system a little bit more efficient. We know they're larger scale projects, but something that we really want to see done in our house. And hopefully someday it'll be a reality, but we know it's difficult because it's a really old house.
Even on an individual basis, people have been encouraged to, turn off their lights every single time they leave the room, and not to open windows in the winter, and important things like that really do save a lot of energy. And also something we've sort of been trying to start is we've noticed that a lot of the minutes from chapter, the sheets of paper, just are used and not taken with anyone. So we've started cutting down on the number of minutes we're printing out. So we're printing out minutes for about 3/4 of the chapter, figuring people can look on each other's. And then we also are putting a recycle bin in the chapter room so that they don't just end up in the trash can.
Because before, our trash can used to be right by the door. People just dropped them in the trash can as they were leaving the chapter room. You'd see this pile of minutes. So we're at least trying to cut down on that sort of waste because that was ridiculous. So over the course of the past year, a big initiative we tried to be working with is the fact that we realized that a lot of sisters were having issues having a space to be able to get all their feelings out. Because before that point, since we are a sorority of women in technical fields for the most part, a lot of us don't always recognize that we have feelings, but we're I need to get these feelings out. So it was something that we worked at the Greek life office, and we got this idea kind of from Sig Ep, how they have their fuzzy shark where they pass around a shark and get their feelings out. It's kind of like a group sort of counseling therapy, just overall happy session. I don't know how to describe it any better than that. But we took that idea and applied it to our chapter so that we could kind of help foster better relationships between sisters, make sure people are being have a space where they can freely communicate what's going on in their lives, if they need support, if they have an issue with something, all sorts of things along that. So we have a fuzzy penguin in our chapter room that we just all sit in a circle, and whoever's holding the penguin is the one who gets to talk about whatever they need to talk about. Then when they're done, they pass it to the next person, and you just kind of keep going until everyone's said everything they need to say. It's facilitated by one of our sisters at large, the position that we have that is specifically for mediating any issues within the sorority, whether it's between sisters or sisters just having a rough time. So that's something that we started up last semester. It's been going pretty well. We're continuing it this semester, and we're still trying to get kind of a feel for we've seen it impact our chapter in a good way, but we're trying to see what we could do to make it better, how we could better use it as a tool to make sure that we keep using it in the future, not just feel oh, this is a good idea, and then let it die. So
yeah, and something else that sort of is really important with regards to this is so a lot of the things that are brought up within Sigmund Circle are chapter issues or interpersonal issues within the chapter. So it's focused on solutions as much as it is on. It's not just a venting session. It's truly focused on A, how can the sisters at large be there for you, and B, what sort of changes can we make as a community?
It's been really nice to see people have really latched onto the idea, and they've made it a very comfortable space for themselves. Because even just over the course of last semester, we had some sisters who through this means, and then they decided therefore to bring it to the rest of the chapter because it was important enough to them, that they came out as members of the LGBT community, which a lot of us weren't aware of, or only a couple of us. So it was really nice to see that they've now finally they felt comfortable enough to actually share with the chapter hey, this is who I really am as a person. And kind of along that line, we've been doing similar initiatives where we bring in more presentations to chapter. Last semester we had a safe zone training because again it was this is obviously very important to our sisters. We need to make sure that we're having this sort of programming to make sure that we're making sisters aware of different cultures, different ways of thinking, all that sort of stuff. So do you guys have anything to add on that, or
Just sort of with the presentations too. We've now had, over the last 3 semesters, we've had all 3 SMART presentations, which, sort of help us as a community stay safe, and all of that. And so it's been good. And we're hoping to, when the SMART mental health one comes, that's something we want to get on board with really quickly. So.
I think that pretty much sums up most of what we really wanted to make sure that we talked about. Do you have any questions for us? Or?
So something else that is, with all the service that you've been doing and that improved, what does reflection look like on an individual and as a kind of a group?
Yeah, especially at least on an individual basis, a lot of us who I for one am a person who's I'll do it because I need to do it. So in the past, I was also one of those people a couple of years ago who didn't actually do most of their service hours. So it's something that now I don't feel like it's such a chore, and a lot of other people share the same sentiment, because now it's especially with the changes the Greek life made, where we're actually able to do service. If you could only go by yourself, it still counts as service instead of the whole 3-4 person rule, because that was really tough on our chapter too, just because it's hard to get a group of us always to have the same schedule sometimes. So it's something that it kind of opened us up to be able to okay, here's something I actually really feel passionate about helping with, or here's something I can do to just spend a couple hours of my time de-stressing while doing something good for the community. So it's something a lot of sisters who previously really did not like doing service now are coming up to the service chairs and asking hey, I want to do this thing, can you help me set this up?
Something else is those sort of the business cards with the service reflection questions in the back are quite useful, and they're things that in the past we've had some sisters sort of email in sort of a small reflection on it. There are things that discreetly I know I try to bring up in the car ride back or whatever, not really making it a we have to do a reflection, but making it more of so what did you think about this, that, and it's something that when people come to meet with me, or when they did come to meet with me about service, and when they go to meet with Akila, it's something that you talk to them about. You talk to them why they want to do what they want to do, what sort of things they want to do, and how they think it's going to help the community. So it's become much more focused on. I think part of the reason why people are enjoying service more is actually because of the self-reflection and the communal reflection component.
I think the fact that it's become a very individualized process now for us, since we are a smaller chapter, if it affects you on an individual level, well, it immediately kind of goes up to that next level to the whole chapter. So as long as we can get each individual on board with it, at least to some degree, then kind of the whole mentality of the chapter changes, which is what we've seen over the past year.
How does your chapter incorporate social justice outside of your service and community involvement?
So a lot of us are,